1 minute ago, Prince William just publicly humiliated Keir Starmer on the streets of London over homelessness policy, and what the Prime Minister said in response has triggered a constitutional crisis that could bring down the government. William didn't just criticise policy, he destroyed it in front of cameras, in front of crowds, in front of a nation watching the royal family break decades of political silence. What happened next shocked two continents. The confrontation lasted 11 minutes, but the fallout will last years. If you want to see how the royal family just changed British politics forever, hit that subscribe button right now, because what I'm about to reveal will leave you absolutely stunned. Here's what sparked this unprecedented explosion. 4 days ago, Prince William made an unannounced visit to a rough sleeper hostel in Lambeth, South London. His message was crystal clear and brutally direct. Britain's homelessness crisis is a national disgrace and the government has blood on its hands. But Keir Starmer wasn't having any of it. The Prime Minister wasn't going to stand silent while a prince lectured him on policy. Starmer fired back instead, and with that decision, he ignited the biggest royal government confrontation in modern British history. At exactly 3:15 p.m. yesterday afternoon outside Westminster Bridge, William was meeting homeless veterans when journalists ambushed him with questions about Starmer's housing cuts. What William said next detonated like a bomb across British politics. His exact words were chilling and completely unprecedented for a working royal. "When I see veterans sleeping in doorways while billions disappear into bureaucratic black holes, I don't just feel disappointed, I feel ashamed." The crowd erupted in applause. Tourists stopped and filmed. Within minutes, the clip was racing across every social media platform on Earth. The response was swift and devastating. Within 2 hours, Downing Street issued a statement so aggressive, so personal, so politically reckless that even Labour MPs were texting each other in disbelief. The statement read, "The Prince of Wales would do well to remember that housing policy is determined by elected representatives, not inherited titles. If he wants to shape policy, perhaps he should stand for election." Sources inside Number 10 described the atmosphere as absolute chaos when that statement went out. Meanwhile, homeless veterans who served Queen and country with honour and courage are dying on Britain's streets. In numbers that would shock you, James Crowley, a 72-year-old Falklands veteran, was found dead outside a Tesco in Manchester last Tuesday morning. He had served 3 tours, earned 2 medals, survived enemy fire in the South Atlantic, but he couldn't survive a British winter on concrete pavement. His body was discovered at 6:47 a.m. by a schoolgirl walking to class. She'll carry that image for the rest of her life. While James Crowley froze to death wrapped in newspaper, Labour MPs were enjoying a taxpayer-funded reception at the Savoy Hotel featuring champagne that costs £180 per bottle. We're talking caviar, 5-course meals and luxury that would feed a homeless family for 3 months. The contrast is so obscene, so morally bankrupt, that even lifelong Labour supporters are turning against Starmer in droves. This isn't about politics anymore. This is about basic human decency, and the government just failed the test catastrophically. But wait, because there's another veteran whose story perfectly captures why William decided to break royal protocol and speak out. Now, Michael Patterson served in Afghanistan for 4 brutal years, lost 3 friends to IED explosions, and came home with PTSD so severe he couldn't hold down work. He applied for veteran housing support 17 times over 2 years. 17 applications, 17 rejections. The bureaucracy that was supposed to help him failed at every single turn. Last month, Michael was sleeping rough under Waterloo Bridge when Prince William's team found him during a private outreach visit that the media never even knew about. William sat with Michael for 40 minutes, listening to his story, hearing about the friends he'd lost and the system that abandoned him. Palace insiders say that conversation changed everything for William, and he returned to Kensington Palace visibly shaken, telling his staff, "For this ends now, I don't care about protocol anymore." 3 weeks later, Michael Patterson was given emergency housing through a royal charity. But here's what makes this story devastating. Michael was one of the lucky ones. For every veteran William can personally help, there are hundreds more dying in the cold, while government officials shuffle papers and Labour ministers Attend luxury dinners. That's the reality that pushed William past his breaking point. Then something unprecedented happened that nobody saw coming. King Charles, watching this crisis explode from Buckingham Palace, broke 70 years of royal protocol with a single extraordinary action. At yesterday's Privy Council meeting, traditionally a rubber stamp formality lasting 15 minutes, the King delivered what insiders are calling the most politically charged speech by a British monarch since World War II. Homelessness, Charles declared with barely contained fury, is not a policy debate, it is a moral crisis that demands immediate action from all of us, especially those with the power to change lives. Palace insiders reveal that Charles personally removed a paragraph from the original draft that directly named Starmer, but the message was unmistakable to everyone in that room and everyone watching across Britain. The King just took sides. The optics are absolutely devastating for Starmer. When both the King and the heir apparent stand united against your housing policy, you're not just losing a political argument, you're losing the nation's moral authority entirely. And here's where it gets even more extraordinary. Charles didn't stop at words. According to senior royal sources, the King personally instructed Duchy of Cornwall officials to open 15 properties across England for emergency veteran housing within the next 30 days. Properties worth an estimated £32 million collectively. This isn't symbolic gesture politics. This is the monarchy directly competing with government policy by showing what real action looks like. Constitutional experts are calling it unprecedented in modern times. Professor Dame Margaret Hodge of Cambridge University said on Radio 4, the King is essentially saying if elected government won't solve this crisis, the Crown will. That challenges 400 years of constitutional evolution. Think about the political implications for just a moment. Every veteran housed in a royal property becomes a walking advertisement for monarchist compassion and government failure. Every news story about Charles opening palace doors highlights Starmer closing housing budgets. The royal family isn't just criticising anymore, they're competing for the moral soul of Britain itself. The domino effect was immediate and catastrophic. Beyond anything Downing Street imagined possible, financial markets reacted first. The pound dropped 0.7% in 40 minutes as traders bet on government instability. Housing stocks plummeted as investors fled anything connected to Starmer's policies. £2.3 billion wiped from the FTSE in a single afternoon, then the political fractures started showing. Backbench Labour MPs started breaking ranks publicly. Sarah Owen, MP for Luton North, tweeted, "When Prince William shows more compassion for veterans than our own government, we need to look in the mirror." That tweet got 400,000 likes in 3 hours. International reactions poured in. Next, Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney praised William's courage. Australian leaders called for Britain to follow the Commonwealth's lead on veteran support. Even American news networks were covering it as their lead story, describing Starmer as a prime minister at war with his own royal family. Meanwhile, #DefendWilliam was trending globally for 17 straight hours. Protests erupted across 11 British cities, Manchester, Birmingham, Glasgow, Newcastle, all seeing crowds in the thousands demanding Starmer's resignation. The polls showed the political earthquake in real numbers. Labour's support collapsed from 39% to 27% in 72 hours. The Conservatives surged to 36%. Reform UK jumped to 21%. For the first time since the election, Starmer's government looks genuinely vulnerable to collapse. Inside number 10, Downing Street, the atmosphere has descended into something witnesses describe as complete institutional panic. Ministers are having shouting matches in corridors that security staff can hear from 3 rooms away. Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner allegedly threw a briefing folder across the cabinet room and screamed that Starmer had just destroyed Labour's relationship with Middle England forever. Education Secretary Bridget Phillipson was overheard telling a colleague he picked a fight with the future king. Who does that? What was he thinking? WhatsApp groups with names like the Sensibles and Posture Planning are frantically plotting their next moves. The question isn't if they'll move against Starmer, it's when and who leads the coup. Chancellor Rachel Reeves has gone completely silent, refusing all media requests and cancelling appearances. She's not defending Starmer anymore, and everybody knows what that means. She's positioning herself as the reasonable alternative. The leader who can repair relations with the palace and restore stability. Starmer himself looked visibly shaken during Prime Minister's questions. Sources say his hands were trembling as he gripped the dispatch box when Conservative leader Keir Starmer asked if he regretted attacking Prince William. Starmer couldn't answer coherently. He stumbled through platitudes about respecting institutions while backbenchers groaned audibly behind him. The man looks broken, isolated, abandoned by his own party and facing a royal family that just demonstrated they're not afraid to fight back. But here's the layer that could bring down not just Starmer, but reshape the entire constitutional relationship between Crown and Parliament. Leaked documents from the Privy Council meeting show something extraordinary that hasn't been reported yet. King Charles didn't just criticise homelessness policy in abstract terms. According to 3 separate sources who were in that room, he specifically referenced a classified government report that predicted veteran homelessness deaths would increase by 42% under current funding levels. If these documents are real and if they show what sources claim they show, then Charles had access to internal government analysis that proved Starmer knew the consequences of his cuts before implementing them. Think about what that means for a moment. The King used secret government intelligence to publicly embarrass the Prime Minister. That's not just breaking protocol, that's the monarchy actively weaponising state secrets against elected leaders. Who gave Charles that report? How did palace officials obtain classified cabinet office analysis? The implications are absolutely staggering. If Charles had inside help from civil servants loyal to the Crown over the government, then Britain has a constitutional crisis that makes this homeless dispute look trivial by comparison. The optics of that would be absolutely devastating because it would prove exactly what Starmer's statement implied. The monarchy is interfering in democratic governance, and then there's the document that nobody's talking about yet but could change everything. A leaked memo from the Treasury dated 3 weeks ago shows that Chancellor Rachel Reeves personally warned Starmer that cutting veteran housing funds would create a public relations disaster. The memo obtained by sources close to the Cabinet Office includes a paragraph that should terrify Downing Street. Any reduction in veteran support will be politically toxic, especially if the royal family chooses to highlight the issue. We recommend maintaining current funding levels to avoid potential constitutional conflict. Starmer ignored that warning completely. He pushed through the cuts anyway. Now, Reeves can claim she tried to stop this disaster, positioning herself as the voice of reason who saw the crisis coming. But here's what makes this memo truly explosive. If it becomes public and multiple journalists are now hunting for confirmation, it proves Starmer was explicitly warned about royal intervention and proceeded regardless.